welcome. We've got a very special guest this evening. He's Mario. I'm Carl. Scoop Cooper, man of hockey history like none other. I don't know where to start.
How about we start
Well,
with?
then I'll just get up and leave.
Yeah. How about we start with? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, you introduced me. You're supposed to do it. Introduction. You introduced me. You talk about me. I'm very shy. I don't talk much about myself.
Shy?
There's nothing shy about this man. Trust me. But this man has been all over the globe with hockey and many other things. He's celebrating 50 years in hockey. He just recently is just here from the stadium game. He's brought so much memorabilia. I don't know if an hour is going to be enough. It's unbelievable. We've got Bertie Perrant game used jersey from 1979. We got Pelle Lindbergh game used stick. It's unreal. I'm just ecstatic to have him, on our show. We're rookies. He's not.
Yeah.
And to have somebody of Scoop's, history.
Nobody said I can.
That was the license plate on the front of the car. I don't know what year the car is, but
it's back. It's a Mariners logo on there. So this was back in the 80s.
There
Wow.
you go.
The late 70s.
So
early
he's
80s.
he's brought a little.
You know who I am.
Yeah, he's brought a little bit of everything. So without further ado, so yours.
Well, first I want to present you with a picture that you saw in the Drexel Hill Pizza.
Yep.
And you were going to get the second one. Here
Yep.
it is.
Yep.
The top is of me drinking from the Stanley Cup on May 19, 1974.
That's on my bucket list.
In the Flyers locker room when they beat the Bruins 1-0. And the bottom is working on an NBC game with my longtime friend Doc Emmerich, who I've been friends with since 1977. So here you are, something to.
Thank you. We will hang it in the store, and it's a privilege. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm privileged to
Yes.
be on the walls someplace.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Card store and a pizza parlor. What more can I ask for?
Two favorite things of mine.
Right.
So let's dig in. Where do you want to start? I mean, this looks old.
Yeah.
This looks really old.
Well, this is a program from the New York Americans in 1925
Wow.
at Madison Square Garden, and this is probably the oldest hockey thing that I have, but it's absolutely beautiful condition with just a lovely illustration on it, and it's one of my prized possessions. And I actually found this in a jewelry store in Belfast, Maine.
Interesting.
And he had a little side thing where he was selling, miscellaneous antiques or something. And this had been in somebody's barn in Maine for 60, 70 years.
Wow.
And I think I paid about $10 for it, which I think was a bargain.
Well worth 10. Well worth 10. I'll give you 20.
Oh, no. This was about 25 years ago. I don't think I'm letting it go. But well, this we can start with this. This is a book that Gene Hart and I wrote in 1984. It was a hockey trivia book, and it's not the average kind of trivia book where it just says who scored the most goals or whatever. That the idea of this book was to ask questions about interesting things, and the answers are always much longer than the questions because it's an excuse to tell stories about interesting things.
Sure.
But among the things I had in here were pictures of, at the time, NHL coaches when they were minor league players, and I've got many of these autographed. This is Fred Shero when he was playing for the New York Rovers in the 1940s.
That's special.
And there's Don Cherry when he was playing. This is with the Hershey Bears in about 1955. And
Don's not too happy these days with the Carolina.
No, but Carolina's playing really well, though. They're going to make the playoffs, I think. And actually, I got a lot of people that are mentioned in the book to sign it this was, when the book came out in 1984, and then I misplaced it for about 30 years. I knew it was in the house someplace. I just didn't, and I just found it a year ago. So I've been carrying it taking it with me to every game, and I get a couple more autographs. But this page, everybody on this page is a Hall of Famer.
Nice.
And among the players on this page are Gordie Howe, Phil Esposito, Scotty Bowman, the coach, Wayne Gretzky, Mike Emmerich, who's Hall of Famer in the Bob Clark, Bobby Orr, Mark Howe, Billy Barber, Kerry Fraser, who's not in the Hall of Fame yet but will be. Dennis Potvin and Emil Francis are on here, and I have other Hall of Famers.
Turn that around and show that to the folks. That's special.
Yeah,
that's nice.
That's nice.
That's a nice piece.
Yeah, and I have about 80 autographs in here.
Is that book still available on Amazon?
It was published in 1984, so it's obviously not in print. But if you go to ABE Books,
okay,
you can usually there are usually 2 or 3 used copies that you can find. So if you really want one, you can find it. Okay. And then this is a cover of the same book, which is autographed by Bob Clark, Wayne Gretzky, myself, and Gene Hart, who was my co-author.
Nice.
So
Very
that's a nice little thing that I have for
That's
that.
very nice.
Now, if we're going to talk about sort of earlier hockey history, here's something. This is from the Philadelphia Ramblers, and you see the headline there.
This amazes me.
War may doom hockey, because this was right in 1941 when the war broke out, and actually the team folded in 1942. But here are some other headlines, and this is an interesting one. This was from 1939 when they were actually considering building a hockey rink. They played at the place called the Arena at 46th and Market Street, but they were talking about building a big hockey palace and so forth. This never came to be, but it was another big story. So this is an interesting picture, and this picture was taken by a very famous photographer for the Daily News who's since passed away, named Elwood Smith, and he gave me this print, and this was the first time that Wayne Gretzky and Eric Lindros ever played against each other. And the interesting thing was that this was a Saturday afternoon game against the Los Angeles Kings in March, and there was a blizzard that day. So the game started, and during the first period a window blew out in the Spectrum, and so they called the game off after the first period and replayed it a couple of weeks later. But this was the first time these two Hall of Famers faced off against each other, and he got it signed by both of them.
Very nice.
And so that's a nice little treasure.
And
it's also the only NHL game that was ever called off after it started.
You have an opinion on 88?
He was a great player, but he did some things here that I didn't approve of, that hurt some people in the organization.
Okay.
But I blame a lot of that actually on his parents. He had the worst stage parents that I ever came across.
Okay.
And he's better now. He was at the game here the other.
He's been in town just
the other night,
3-4 days.
And he's learned a lot and he's more mature. But he was at this time it was kind of a difficult situation for him because he had such a huge build up, and it's difficult for anybody. I mean, he was a great player, but there were issues with his parents.
Sure.
That that I thought were a problem.
We'll leave it there.
Okay.
We have two questions for you from the audience.
Okay.
Joe Stinger wants to know, what's your most precious piece from the Stanley Cup years?
Precious piece from the Stanley Cup years. Well, probably the Perrant jersey. Even though that's, because even though this was a jersey from 1979, this is actually the jersey he was wearing in the game in February 1979 where he suffered his career-ending eye injury. So this is the jersey he wore in the last game he ever played.
And Carl's in the process of getting that.
And here it is.
There you go. Look at that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
So
brings a tear to my eye because this is my guy.
Yeah.
So there is nobody else.
yeah. Well,
So-
Bernie and I have been friends for half a century, and
Doesn't get
he's a
any
great
better.
guy.
How about the documentary they're doing? Well, they did this weekend with him traveling with the cup,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah, I saw him at
Yeah.
Pat Steaks
that's
and other
special.
stuff.
Yep.
That's special.
Yeah, but Bernie
That's
is
special.
Bernie's a special person, and
Yeah.
we've been friends for forever.
This is
Yeah.
nice.
But
This is nice.
this is
nice.
Now, the interesting thing is,
Joe Stinger, take a picture of this, buddy. Take a pic because this is as close as we're ever going to get to it again.
now our buddy Johnny Mann,
Johnny Man, yeah,
great kid.
yeah, yep.
And I told him he's taking an exam tonight, so he's going to watch this on the replay. But I told him I would mention him. So Johnny, here you are. I'm mentioning you.
Kid used to shop in the store
Right.
when he was 10 years
Yeah.
old. I got to, it's amazing.
Well, a couple of months ago, we came in the
Yep.
store together.
Yep.
Now, this jersey was given to me actually by the team right before the start of the 1980 season, and I saw the late Jimmy McKenzie take it out of the locker room, take it to the Bob Uter, who was then the president of the team, and he gave it to me. Now, I've never put it on, and I know it had not been worn after that game.
Sure.
And so when we were here, I told Johnny, because he was a goalie.
Yep.
I said, Johnny, put it on. And
Yeah.
he's the first person to have put it on
Yeah.
since 1979.
Yeah.
So,
So he's
So-
he's number 2.
He's number two. But he's a great kid,
He is a great kid,
Yeah.
and he comes from a great family.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And
So-
and the thing about Johnny is that even though he's only 20 years old, he has an unbelievable passion for hockey
he
history.
does. He
For
does.
all of these things that all happened before he was even born.
Yep.
And I'm so proud of him, and so really enjoy working with him. And
You've got a few mentors.
Yeah.
well, mentorees.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm the mentor.
Mentorees.
I
Sorry.
currently I have 22 that are my active mentorees. That anywhere from the most recent one has been about 6 weeks, going back to about 15 years of the current bunch. But I have one guy that I met in 1981 up in Hershey when he was 13. He's now 50. He still calls me. He called me last week.
Nice.
And
That's awesome.
I'm now mentoring his kids. I have another guy I met when he was 15, 1984. We still see each other all the
Nice.
time, mentoring his kids.
Nice.
And the interesting thing about both of them is the guy in Hershey, Tom Schaefer. When he finished college, he didn't know what he was going to do, and he said thought he was about joining the Army. And I said, well, we're not at war now, but that doesn't mean we won't be someplace else. My recommendation is you stay here, get a job here, and do something in Hershey, which he did. But because of that, he met his wife, and so if it hadn't been for me telling him not to go in the Army, he wouldn't have had his daughter, who was a really bright kid. And the same thing with the other guy. He was at Penn State taking engineering, and he hated it. And he told me, I spent my freshman year on the phone with you, sometimes sober, sometimes not.
He's honest.
And and basically asking me what he should do. And I said, drop engineering, even though you're good at math and so forth, and take something you like. And so he took accounting. And he's been a very successful accountant. But his first job out of college was with a small accounting firm where he met his wife. They've got 2 kids, one of them who's a college hockey player now at Lebanon Valley College. So if it hadn't been for me, he would not have met his wife, he wouldn't have had those 2 kids. So even though I'm not married, don't have any kids, there are 3 kids out there that are my responsibility. But I never had to change their diapers. Never had to put up with them when they were 13.
You're the best kind.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, we're talking about Bernie. Let's introduce this picture
Yes.
and
All right.
get
Well, this is a very unusual poster. This is something actually the Flyers sued about when it was first made.
Wow.
It was actually a picture taken in 1974 by a fellow named David Carey, who was a student of mine when I was a school teacher, and it was taken out of practice. And after, I think Rick McLeish had scored a goal on Bernie in the practice, he turned around and gave him the
Number one sign.
Salute.
And my friend took this picture and had these posters made up, and the Flyers were kind of pissed off about that. And they sued him. But Bernie loves it, and so he signed it for me. But these are extremely rare.
Very nice.
And that's and Bernie thinks it's great, and nothing ever came of it. But there are very few of them around.
Only the Lord saves more than Bernie Corona.
So here are a variety of hockey, but there were 10 hockey teams in Philadelphia before the Flyers, professional hockey teams going back to 1927. The first was a team called the Philadelphia Arrows in the Canadian American League, and then it became the Ramblers, which was a Rangers farm team. The Ramblers, there was the Rockets, there were the Falcons, there were the Firebirds, which I was the PR man for the Firebirds in the 70s. Actually, there's a Firebirds program here, that right there. And that's the Philadelphia Firebirds program. It played at the Civic Center, and I don't know whether you can. I might not be able to see it. Let me see here. Oh, that's me. You see, I was prominent. I was right in the middle. And this was a game against a team called the Beauce Jarros that only lasted a year and a half. But it was, and the uniforms that the Beauce Jarros wore were the uniforms that they used for in Slapshot for the what was the name of the team? That was the bad team. But that was the one with Dr. Hook, Tim McCracken, and so forth.
Okay.
And so that was the uniforms they wore for that. But that was a crazy bad team. And here are a few others. This is a program from the Ramblers, 1938. And this was a game. Let's see who this was against. It's the Providence Reds. And this was in the old International American Hockey League, which became the American Hockey League and still in business.
Wow. And
this was one from, I think, 1940, against Providence.
damn.
This one is, let's see, this is against, this is the Philadelphia Rockets against a team called the Washington Lions. And the Rockets played after the war, the American Hockey League, and they set a record with fewest wins in a season. They won 5 games one year. But that was not the worst team in Philadelphia. There were 2 others that were worse. There was a team called the Philadelphia Comets. They lasted 1 season. They were 0-16-0, never won a game. And there was a National Hockey League team called the Philadelphia Quakers, played here 1 season, 1930-31.
Wow.
They
15 cents.
Yeah, they had that team had started in 1925 in Pittsburgh as the Pittsburgh Pirates. They played 5 years in Pittsburgh. Their last year in Pittsburgh, 1929-30.
You've got a piece up on your on that
on Hockey Buzz.
Yes,
right.
Yep, I was reading that.
They won 5 games their last year there, and they left town because this was the stock market crash and so forth. They moved the team to Philadelphia. They played here 1 year. They set the current standing NHL record. They won 4 games that year. And they suspended the franchise after that, never played again. This franchise was dissolved in 1936. But they had 2 Hall of Famers on that team. They had the coach was a man named Cooper Smeaton, was actually a Hall of Fame referee. And Sid Howe was a 19-year-old center on that team, went on to be a Hall of Famer in Detroit. And but no relation to Gordie Howe,
right.
but he played there.
Right.
There.
So, quick question:
Yeah.
Do you have insurance on any of this stuff? Any of it?
I'm not sure I should answer that
question.
And I didn't have insurance on my chair either.
We'll get to the chair.
Yeah, we'll get to the chair.
I do want to hear that. I do want to hear that.
I got the check in the mail today.
Did you really?
Yeah, yes. This was.
Oh, I guess I knew who's buying dinner.
All right, this is another program from the Rockets playing the Hershey Bears. This was, and I've been involved in Hershey hockey actually longer than Philadelphia, going back to the 50s. This is another. Let's see who this is. This is the Rockets playing the Cleveland Barons. This is probably 1946 or 47, I would guess. And I think that's all I have in the way of old programs. Here, I've got this one. Let's see. This is from 1939-40.
Carlos wins 10 cents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This.
I got that one covered.
And this is the Philadelphia Ramblers versus the New Haven Eagles.
Wow.
But there are some interesting names here, because this was a Rangers farm team. A lot of these players actually went on to play for the Rangers.
Okay.
In fact,
we don't like
Brian
the Rangers.
Hextall Sr. played here, with the grandfather of Brian Hextall,
right.
and the father of Brian Hextall Jr.
Okay.
Wow.
This is an autographed lineup card from a charity game played at the Spectrum in 1995 between Flyer alumni and members of the 1980 Olympic team.
Okay.
So that was kind of a fun thing.
Very, very popular.
Yeah.
1980.
Yes.
Very popular.
And this is it's a kind of a small picture, but this was actually from, I think this may have actually been from that game, of a signed picture by my friend Jacques Plante, also known as Jake the Snake. Great Hall of Fame
not
goalie.
Roberts.
No, and he was
The other Jake the Snake.
Jacques was the Flyer goalie coach at the time.
Ah.
So that's that. And here is Steve Coates playing for the Richmond Robins. This is when I first knew Steve Coates in 1972. So I've known Coates a long time.
Yeah.
And he's still growth arrested at 14. But a wonderful guy. But he was exactly the same in 1972 as he is today.
He was back between the benches last night for the game.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. He was pretty excited. He was pretty stoked.
But Coates is a good guy. He's a good friend of mine.
Yep.
And this was the Flyers
Good
media.
looking hair too, by
Flyers
the way.
media guide from 1968-69 when they won their first Clarence Campbell Trophy. But you can see that it was pretty thin in those days. 80 pages. I bet you that this is. Yeah, that's another robocall.
Is Jack on?
Jack
Rhodes?
is on.
Is
Jack actually wants to know.
He's got to be pretty stoked.
Yeah.
He's got a couple questions. He wants to know if you have any Brian prop items.
I have one of his jerseys, but Property's a good friend of mine because I've known him since he was a rookie.
Okay.
But then again, I've known everybody since I've
Right.
known Clarkie since he was a rookie.
Sure.
You know?
He wants to know where he can get one of those Perrant pictures.
Of the posters?
Yeah.
I don't think you can get them anywhere.
Oh, sorry, Jack. And
that was 45 years ago.
okay. Were you good friends with Gene Hart?
It's very, very close friends with Gene Hart.
I kind of figured.
Because Gene and I had a second passion in common, which was opera.
Right.
And we were great. We used to go up to the Metropolitan Opera together. I worked with Gene for 25 years.
Oh, wow.
And, Gene...
He seemed like a really nice guy.
Oh, yeah. Gene and I were extremely close friends.
Okay.
And, I still miss him. But Gene was,
Cool.
I'm gonna try.
You want to do sticks or you want to do jerseys?
Well, the sticks are in order, so
Okay.
I'm going to try not to kill somebody.
Right. All right, and I only brought a few of the sticks here.
You brought quite a few good ones.
And
so, is there anything here that you needed to
no, I think
talk
we've seen,
about?
No, I think we've seen pretty much everything from there. This was the Firebirds when the Phantoms did a Firebirds night. I was the PR man for the Firebirds, so I gave them. Reggie Lemelin was our goalie, and Gordy Brooks was our star. Actually, I got Gordy's jersey there, right there. Let me do with the Gordy Brooks jersey. Actually, he called me a couple of months ago. Just out of the blue. I haven't talked to him for a long time. Gordy was our star player. This is jersey number 9. And a little interesting thing about Gordy.
This jersey drew a lot of attention last time it was here.
Yeah.
You know,
That's the jersey he wore actually the year he was the scoring champion in the American Hockey League.
Wow.
And he gave that to me because we were very close friends.
any idea value? I mean,
It's invaluable to me.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I'm not interested in selling it.
I understand.
Especially after I sold my chair.
right? But if My Gray got a hold of this, or NHL got a hold of this, I mean, you know,
I'm sure. You know, it has historical value.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so obviously,
Right.
you know, to me.
Yep.
But an interesting story about Gordy because we're very good friends, and this was after the Firebirds left. It was probably the early '80s, I guess, or something. I was home. I got a phone call. I picked up the phone. Said, "Scoop, it's Gordy." No, I assumed it was Gordy Brooks. I said, "Hey, Gordy, how you doing?" And we started talking a little bit, and I realized it wasn't Gordy Brooks; it was Gordy Howe, who was also a good friend.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
but you know that was, you know, so he wanted to know how Mark was doing. So you know, I told him.
You want to stay with the jerseys? You know, we
We can do jerseys.
You know,
Now this is a nice Rangers jersey that
I gotta wash my hands.
actually Neil
sorry.
Smith gave this to me,
Okay.
who was the president of the Rangers at the time.
Special dispensation tonight.
and he gave it to me because it was my good friend Bob Froze.
Yeah.
But it's that's a real Gary Cosby authentic Rangers jersey, and it's a classic jersey. So you know, because I've got friends on every team.
Absolutely. And you're allowed to.
Oh yeah.
You're allowed to.
So let's see here. This is a
That's a nice one.
yeah.
there.
This is the Maine Mariners jersey from 1977.
And I think you
Wow.
said that was Glenn Cochran.
I think this was Glenn Cochran. I think he was 29.
Yeah.
They didn't wear names on that, but I'm pretty sure this was Glenn Cochran. Now, a fascinating Glenn Cochran story.
He was pretty aggressive, right?
He was a tough guy.
He would, he'd throw the gloves off
Yeah.
at any time, right?
Yeah. So.
Is that where you're going with this?
No, well, he'd been called up because somebody had gotten injured for
Okay.
a couple of games, so he got called up
To
to
the
the
big-
Flyers,
okay.
big club, and Flyers played a home game on a Tuesday, and the Mariners were going to play Hershey on Wednesday. So after the game, he was getting sent back. So Pat Quinn, who was the Flyers coach at the time, said he knew I was going to the game. He said, "Would you give Cocker a ride to Hershey?" I said, "Sure, no problem. You just had to get there." He said, "But he has to be there for practice at 10 o'clock. I said, "That's no problem. I can kill a day easily in Hershey." So I picked him up at the Stadium Hilton. No, it wasn't the Stadium. The Hilton Hotel used to be across the street from the Civic Center Convention Hall.
Okay.
It's now an office building, but at that time it was the Hilton Hotel. He was staying there. So I picked him up at 8 o'clock and got in the car. We were driving out the turnpike. Now, I'm a great classical music fan. So I put a tape in. It was Mozart's Prague Symphony. And we're driving out there, and Cocker's kind of nodding his head for about 10 minutes. And finally he says, "That's that Mozart, isn't it, Scoop?" And I said, "Cocker, I'm proud of you. You knew that. How did you know that?" I said, "I went to Salzburg last summer. I had to listen to a lot of that shit."
Oh, God.
Cocker's a good guy. He's now a scout for Anaheim.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a junior scout. So
Okay.
and this is a jersey from the last year that the Philadelphia Phantoms were here.
Played at the Spectrum.
Yeah, played at the Spectrum. So I went to virtually every home game of the Phantoms, and we worked a lot of telecasts with Gene, because Gene did retire
Sure.
from the Flyers by then, so I
Sure.
worked with a lot of telecasts
Yep.
with Gene. But that's a nice Phantoms jersey. Let's see. Oh, and then this is a really special jersey for me.
It's just got somebody's name on it.
Yes, it has my name on it,
Look at that.
and the number
Uh-huh.
is 36. Now, as I said, I've had a long association with the Hershey Bears
Sure.
too over the
Sure.
years.
Yep.
And when they played their last game at Hershey Park Arena, the last season there, which was 2001. And so the last game at Hershey Park Arena was April 7th, 2001, and they they needed a story for they published a special program, so I created the cover for the program, and I wrote about a 6,000 word story on the history of the arena and Hershey hockey and so forth. And for the game, they had worn this patch on their small version of this patch on their shoulder through the whole season. But for the last game, they had special jerseys made up only for that game. And they had them, one made up for each player. They had a player from each of the 8 Calder Cup teams at that time.
Oh, nice. Came back?
Came back.
Nice.
They had one for Frank Mathers, who had retired as the president of the team for many years. They made up one for the governor of Pennsylvania, who was there, and they made up one for me.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
So, and they said, now what number do you want on it? And I said 36 because the building opened in 1936.
There you go.
There you go.
So
Perfect.
this is the jersey from that game, and it was this is a very special one for me because they only made up enough for that game, and then they destroyed all of the things to make the patches
Did
and
the
so
actual
forth.
game jersey have this patch?
Yes, this was a game jersey.
Can you imagine? You probably lost 20 pounds playing in
Yeah.
that thing once you got. I mean,
This is a game jersey.
Yeah,
It wasn't game
yeah,
used because
yeah,
it was made for
yeah.
me.
No,
but this was the jersey that
just
they
the
wore.
patch alone must be
Yeah.
a pound or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful jersey,
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
the Hershey hockey is
Yep.
they've had hockey in Hershey since 1931.
So
Very nice.
a little fun fact. My guitar player Matt named his son Calder after the Calder Cup.
Oh, no kidding. There you go.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
you go.
Frank Calder was president of the National Hockey League.
Very nice.
Yeah, in the 30s.
Very nice.
So here we have a few sticks.
Yeah, this one's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's Wayne somebody.
Yeah, well,
Oh.
now, I didn't buy any of these sticks. All of these sticks were either given to me by players or teams or trainers or whatever. This stick was
Absolutely.
actually given to me by Jim Easton,
Okay.
who owns the company that made
Sure.
them, who
Yep.
lived next door to my sister in Los Angeles.
Yep.
And so they had this special aluminum stick for Wayne that was polished, and they didn't sell these. And then he obviously signed it here for me.
The great one.
Yeah.
There it is, folks. Never to be seen again.
Yeah.
There you go.
And let's see, this one is a Darryl Sittler stick, Hall of Famer, signed by the team when he played on the Flyers.
Was he here about 2 years?
Yeah, he's a couple
About
years.
2 years?
Yeah. But, he's a good guy.
Very good
Yeah.
guy. Very, very popular here.
Yeah.
Very popular.
And let's see, this is from my friend Mark Howe. I spent the first intermission with last night. He's a
Yep.
head scout for Detroit.
Mark's awesome.
Wow.
And
Yep.
I see him, and I'll see him again next Wednesday when Washington is in. We're very close friends. And the interesting thing about Mark is when his mother passed away, he went and cleaned things out of the house, and he found boxes and boxes of slides, of family pictures going back to his parents' wedding that he had never seen, and they were summer pictures, Christmas pictures,
Sure.
camp pictures,
Sure.
of this, but they were all like just family pictures, and Detroit Red Wings all nice Christmas parties and that sort of thing. And one of the things I do is digital image restoration. There were about 800 pictures, and he wanted about 100 of them restored
Okay.
because a lot of them had faded or other things, and so he engaged me to do that. And so he had them all. He had all those slides scanned, so digital files of them. So he gave those all to me, and I have them all on my computer. And because none of these pictures have ever been seen
Sure,
publicly,
sure.
so I restored the ones that he wanted to restore. He used a lot of them in his book. But when Gordy had his stroke, one of the things they did is they put these pictures on a loop and showed them to him over and over again, and it was a tremendous help to him.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
But the other really kind of bizarre thing about it was that Colleen Howe, his mother, when she was younger, could have been my mother's identical twin.
Oh, wow.
So it was like doing these pictures of these summer camp pictures and all of this that just looked like everybody's snapshots, except there was one really famous guy in them, And then there was Mark when he was,
Sure.
a tiny
Wow.
kid, and his, and
Mark and Marty and
Mark,
Murray.
yeah, Mark and Marty and Kathy and Murray.
Yep.
All his,
Yep.
in the summer pictures
Yep.
and all
Sure.
that kind of thing.
Sure.
And so it was kind of really bizarre, doing these pictures of this woman that could have been my mother.
Right.
Wow.
But it was just really wonderful. I still have them, but they've never been
Sure.
published. But I'm really
Nice.
honored by
Yeah.
Mark to ask
Very
me
cool.
to do that.
Very cool.
This is an Eric Lindros stick from his rookie year. You can see it. I guess you can see knock the lights out, but it's autographed on here. You can see it was quite a heavy stick that he used.
The Big E.
Okay, this is a game used stick Clarkie gave to me. I think this was from. I remember it's a game against. This is from 1981. He used this in a game against Buffalo and gave it to me after the game. It's an nice old Sherwood wooden stick.
You see these new guys trying to play with this?
I just love the old wooden
This
sticks
just
there.
never happened.
And this is from the Little Beaver, Marcel Dion, when he played in Los Angeles.
Yep. Yeah, he was a guest in the store. He was awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Let's see, and now we have a couple of goalie wands here.
Hold that one for last,
Okay.
because I think that one's got a whole lot of stories attached
so there's
to
a
it.
lot of it.
There's a whole lot of stories attached to that.
Okay, this is Pete Peters, who was a very good friend of mine. Still is. Last time I saw him was 2 years ago. They did during the 50th anniversary season. They had nights for goalies and those, and they brought Pete down from Edmonton, and so I saw him up at the suite they had for him up where the press boxes were. And he said, gave me a big hug, and he says, "Scoop, do you remember my first game in the American Hockey League?" And I said, "Yes, I do. You got called up from Milwaukee in the International League to play for the Maine Mariners, and you shut them out. And I think it was against New Haven. I said, you shut them out in the first period, you shut them out in the third period, and you gave up 6 in the second period." He said, "That's right."
Jack's going nuts, by the way.
Oh, I could imagine.
Yeah.
I could imagine.
He's waiting for this one right here.
This.
All right, well, this is a very special stick
Very
for me.
Very.
This was from, I think it was 1981 Calder Cup. It's 81 or 82. I can't remember which one. Anyway, Calder Cup finals between the Maine Mariners and the Adirondack Red Wings. And I went up to Portland for the last couple of games. I was at the game in Portland, and then they went back to Glens Falls for the next game, which they lost, and Adirondack won the Calder Cup. And as we were flying on the charter flying back to Portland, Belly was a really good friend of mine, gave me the stick. This was the stick he used in the game. And this is the only championship game he played in North America.
Wow.
Because the game in the Olympics, which he was the only goalie that didn't lose to the Team USA, but that was the first game. It was a 2-2 tie. And U.S. played Finland in the gold medal game, because the game against the Russians was the semifinal game.
Okay.
That they beat the Russians. So he didn't. He played in the bronze medal game. Didn't play in the gold medal game in the Olympics. And in 1985, when they went to the finals, he had gotten injured. Had a knee injury in the Quebec series, and Bob Froese played in the finals, so he didn't play in the championship game there.
Gotcha.
So this was the stick that he used in that game, which he gave to me.
Wow.
And it's a very precious stick to me,
Oh,
because
yeah.
he was a very good friend of mine.
That would be
Sure,
very
Jack
special to a
wants to
lot
see
of people.
to see the name on the stick as well. So I want to make sure he gets to see that. So yeah, this is pretty sweet piece of lumber right here.
Yeah, it is.
This is Pelly's very special in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very special. Do you have a Pelly story?
Well,
anything that won't take up an hour.
well, it's not a story I necessarily can say in public.
Oh, okay.
So
All
we'll
right.
go for
The charter flying back from Glens Falls to Portland, he got on the PA system and was talking at great length in Swedish. And nobody really knew what he was talking about. And when he finally sat down, I said, "What were you talking about?" He said, "I was talking about the stewardess."
Of course.
Yeah, so that was what he was talking about. All right, well, I do have one other story about Gump. This is when he had his. This was back in the days when they had the rookie thing, where they shave your head or whatever it was. And
rookie hazing.
The rookie hazing, and this took place actually in Los Angeles, and I was in Los Angeles at the time. It was in December. Yeah, actually right before the All-Star game. So they had a morning skate. And both he and Bob Froese were both rookies on the team that year, and they both got their heads shaved. And so after that, he needed to get the team had already gone back to the airport Marriott, and he needed a ride back there. So I gave him a ride back, and he had a pink towel wrapped around his head like a turban. And I'll never forget pulling up in front of the airport Marriott, and he gets out with this pink towel wrapped around his head and walked in there. And that night he shut out the Kings, and then he left the team because he was going to Nassau to play the All-Star game.
Oh, okay.
And he gave up like 14 goals or something in the one period that he played, and it kind of destroyed his confidence for a little while. And I think Gretzky had about 9 of them, whatever. It wasn't quite that many, but it was a lot. But he was a terrific guy, and I'll just never forget him getting out of the car and walking into the hotel with this pink towel wrapped around his head.
Had to be pink, huh?
Yeah, it had to be pink. And actually, when Thomas Chilander wrote his biography called "The Man Behind the White Mask," it was published in Sweden. He actually called me up and we spoke on the phone for a couple hours, and that's one of the stories that he put in there.
Very nice. Very good.
And some of the other things.
So somebody wants to know what your most memorable game was.
Well, there have been about 3,000 of them. I would say certainly May 19, 1974, when I got to drink from the Stanley Cup of the locker room. And as I was telling Carl, there's a picture of me that's actually in that picture that I gave you, drinking from the cup. Now, when Ed Snyder passed away a couple of years ago, Phil Pritchard, who is the keeper of the cup,
Correct.
the Hall of Fame,
Yep.
put out a tweet about seeing, the condolences in memory, and he put up the picture that he put up was that picture of me drinking from the cup because he thought that was a picture of Ed Snyder. So it was me, and it got spread all over it got repeated all over the place. So that was certainly probably one of the most memorable ones. Well, as I said, there have been since 1927 since the first professional team played in Philadelphia
Sure.
Arrows. There have only been 8 games played in Philadelphia in which a cup was presented to one of the 2 teams at the end of the game, or it was a championship. It was either Calder Cup or Lockhart Cup or Stanley Cup, or also the NCAA Final Four. I consider that, and I was at 7 of them. The only one I missed was in 1936, and that wasn't my fault.
I'm going to do the math real quick.
I wasn't born till 9 years later, so that wasn't my fault.
We're going to have to wrap up.
Okay.
This is it's almost 1:15. Before we do that, I want to hear about the chair.
All right. Well, I had this chair that I inherited 45 years ago that I'd known all my life because it was my grandfather's house, and when my father passed away, I got it. It was just this old wooden chair. It was a nice chair, but it wasn't very comfortable.
Right.
And I knew it was old, so it sat by my front door, and I put my mail on it for 45 years.
Did you ever open the mail?
Oh, yeah, I opened the mail.
Okay,
and I said, I thought it was worth maybe a couple $1,000s, but that was just there. So I have a friend up in Maine who lives in a house that I used to stay in the 50s that was built by a sea captain in 1840 who was married to an ancestor of mine, or blood relation of a cousin. And so he bought this house 2 years ago and moved in there, and what he does is he makes reproduction 17th and 18th century American furniture, and it's
Okay.
absolutely gorgeous.
Okay.
So I spent some time with them last summer, because I go there every summer. And I said, I've got this old chair. I don't know what it is, but I'll send you some pictures of it. Maybe you can tell me what it is. So I sent him the pictures when I got home, and he wrote back to me almost immediately. And he says, it's a Philadelphia Queen Anne carved walnut composite side chair. It's the holy grail of American furniture.
Wow.
And I said, really? So it's worth more than $2,000? So I called, I sent some pictures of it to Christie's and Sotheby's, the two big auction houses. Right. Just to see if they might be interested in it, because I didn't know I was going to sell it or not. And when you send these in, they say, well, we'll send you an email back in 6 weeks to let you know if we're interested. Well, next week I got a call from the deputy chairman of Christie's and said, we're really interested in your chair. So I said, well, I don't know whether I'm gonna sell it, but so they said, well, let's have you we'll do some research for you. And so they had a woman who's based in London, but is the researcher on this, and she did a tremendous job of research on the chair. It turns out there are only 6 other chairs in the set that are known, and 6 other side chairs and 2 armchairs. One of the armchairs is in the Philadelphia Art Museum, the other is in Winter Tour. One of the side chairs is in the Ford Museum in Detroit, and the others are in private collections. But this is the first chair from this set that has become publicly known in more than 100 years.
Wow.
Wow. Oh boy.
So I took it down to this. He said, take it down to the Philadelphia Art Museum, let them look at it. And they were ecstatic about it. They said, yes, this is absolutely genuine. And they had done research on their armchair because they're putting out a book on all of their collections. And so they knew the provenance of this chair. And they said it was made in 1753 for Samuel Powell II, who died in 1759 and went to his son, who was Samuel Powell III, who was colonial mayor of Philadelphia in 1776, lived next door to George Washington and had lots of dinner parties.
Wow.
So it was quite possible, most probable, that Washington and Franklin and Jefferson and Adams and Hancock and all of these people sat in this chair.
Wow.
And in 1787, most of the Constitution was written in the Powell House. It's on 3rd Street. So probably people writing the Constitution were sitting in this chair at the time.
Wow, that's cool.
So I decided, I'm 73. I don't really have anybody to leave it to. Can't take it with me. I said, I think I'll auction it. So I called Christie's, and they said, well, the auction we have is in January, but it's closed, but we'll open it for you. This was the day before Thanksgiving. They said, we'd like to come down, pick it up. Can we come down on Friday? I said, no, I'm working the NBC Black Friday game on NBC, and I can't do it. I said, well, come down Monday. So the deputy chairman from Christmas came down Monday personally to pick it up. He says, I run 19 departments. I don't do this anymore, but I did it for this chair.
Of course he did.
So I went to the auction. It was auctioned at Rockefeller Plaza, where the Christie's is in New York, right across the street from the RCA. Well, I still call it the RCA building. It's now, I think it's the Comcast building now. But it's 30 Rock, and this is at 20 Rock.
Right? Sure.
And it was auctioned on January 18th for $348,000. And I got the check today.
And on that note,
Yep.
So now I can do a few things.
there you go.
Nice.
I think you had mentioned possibly a trip.
I'm going to go to Toronto to see Josh Cooper, is one of my no relation, but he's one of my mentorees.
Okay.
And I'm going to see another one who's actually I've been mentoring for 12 years, a guy named Ron Gillette who lives in Sudbury, who I've actually never met in person. He's going to come down and visit with me. So I've got it's going to be nice. And I also want to say a special hello to Skylar Walker in Cornwall, Ontario, who just friended me last night because he's been seeing my things on the Flyers fan page.
Very nice.
Right. And he is a passionate Flyers fan, so I sent him a little note today. He's an 18-year-old kid. I said, why are you a passionate Flyers fan? Because I looked at his pictures and everything. He's got Flyers hats and T-shirts and
Sure.
everything. Why is this kid from Cornwall, Ontario, a passionate Flyers fan? He says, my father used to follow the Leafs, and every time they played the Flyers, they just got their asses whipped. And so he said, I'm going to be a Flyers fan, and he raised me as one, too. So Skylar, I think, is going to be watching tonight. So there you are.
Very nice.
Well, it was great having you here.
Yeah,
well, thank you.
I
hope I didn't bore you too much.
No. Actually, I think we need to have him back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt. We're giving you a couple of gifts.
Why, thank you.
This isn't NBC quality, but it's CCC quality.
Well, that's very nice.
So we appreciate having you, and the knowledge.
Nice to be had.
The knowledge is
great.
It's breathtaking. But I know you're a big fan of Gritty, so we'll get this out of the way. But if anybody's been following us this evening, this was our prize pack for tonight that we're giving away. So someone from tonight will be selected, and we'll be in touch. You'll get the bobblehead, the puck, and the oversized rookie card of Gritty.
So if you haven't, make a comment.
Jump on. You got a few. You still got a few minutes. So that's going to be available. Our winner from last week is Bobby Goodwin.
Right.
On the autographed Wendell Smallwood autographed 8x10. So you need to contact us. That was picked live by Bay.
Yep.
So you can see that on Facebook. What else do we have?
Well, we got a couple minutes. So, do you have anything you want to promote?
Yes.
Right now.
Well, as I said, I've been a writer for 50 years. Also worked in TV and done lots of other things. But I do write about hockey history. I have a personal hockey history site called hockeyscoop.net.
So hockeyscoop.net. We'll post that on the site.
And I also blog for about the last 12, 13 years for hockeybuzz.com. But what I do there is just intermittently. It's mostly historical things. Unfortunately, there've been a lot of obituaries because of at my age. A lot of my hockey friends, I think, have written 14 in the last 3 years. But I write a lot about him. Actually, the one I did on Fred Shiro, I saw Ray Shiro at a short time after that, and he says it was really great because there was a lot of stuff in there I didn't even know. About Fred, who was a really interesting guy and a good friend of mine over the years.
Well, anytime you want to come
back, let us know.
Just let us know.
Yeah.
So,
we will fit you in, kind of like getting the chair picked up. So
now we have a change for next week because you're leaving Tuesday.
I'm leaving Tuesday.
I'm leaving Thursday.
Yep.
Right. So special time Monday 7:00. We'll be here.
Monday 7:00. Here tonight.
Yes.
Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. She has helped.
The wonder.
She has helped us. This is Lauren, for everybody who doesn't know. Lauren's my daughter, of course. Proud dad, as I can be. So this is a very special night. She helps us with a lot of behind the scenes. She does all the social media. She does it all. She came in tonight, so we had to get her in the picture.
Yes.
So
thank you for everything.
Sure.
Thank you. So we got we got a full house tonight.
Yes, we do.
We got a full house, and what else do we got?
AP's here too.
AP's in the house. AP's in the house. He's trying to figure out what's going on.
My mom says hi.
Hi.
So Bryce Harper still isn't signed, and we're not.
The Eagles let go of Nick
we're not-
Foles.
yes.
It's a terrible day.
Well, that we can talk about.
It's a
I'm not
terrible
talking about that
day.
other
Yeah,
guy.
I'm happy they didn't franchise him though, because now he can go where he wants to go.
What if he goes to the Giants?
You're gonna have to become a Giants
No.
So
This is live,
Yes, it
That's
is.
fine. It can be live.
This is live.
actually,
This is live.
there's a delay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So,
There is.
but we don't have the technology to cut you out, so you can say whatever.
So in closing, how was the Stadium Series game?
Well, it was Doc Emmerich and I have been friends since 1977. We worked together hundreds of times. Now, Doc and Enzo were right down by the ice in the rain, and actually, I was working, providing some historical stuff and so forth, feeding it to Doc. But they put me in the auxiliary broadcast booth at the press box level, so it was beautiful. It was warm. It was out. It was
I
not
was
in the
there.
rain.
I was there on Friday. I saw that cushy spot.
Yeah, it's right. I had monitors there and everything. I had, I could listen to what Doc was saying and send him all kinds of stuff and so forth. I had a great time.
Good.
I didn't get
Good.
wet or anything. And so
If anybody deserves it, you do.
Yes.
You do. You've been doing this a long time, so you've seen some really lean years.
But I've seen some good years
yes,
too.
yes,
So
no
I've
doubt.
seen a little bit of everything.
Yes, no doubt. And I can't thank you enough.
Yes.
Thank you. It
Thank
was
you
my
again.
pleasure.
Very appreciative.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you again.
Right,
We'll
thank
call
you.
it a wrap.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
And we'll catch everybody
See ya. Thanks
Monday
for
night.
watching. Monday night, 7:00. We'll put a link out there again. Just let everybody know.
Yep.
But
Thank you.
then we'll announce the winner Monday.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
That's a wrap.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.